All right, let's see. So this is the Produce, Hardcore, Dwarven Axe, Eldritch Knight, Trapper, 18 Wizard, 2 Rogue, Mutizard, Dwarf Wizard. Important note, let's check the notes. This is a build I want to do for Hardcore. Be running a Caster Cleric, so I'm not too worried about self-healing, so that's good. I want to have a Trapper because my teammate and I don't really know where traps are. I don't know how to build this, so this is my first shot. Please feel free to change a lot of things about this. I'm not tied to Wizard, but I do want Rogue. I'm a Dwarf, so the Cleric can heal me, and I can use Dwarven Axes because Dwarves are your favorite race. For ED, I have no idea what I'm doing. Perfect. You want to be a Dwarf? You want to find traps? How about let's make you into a Dwarf who finds traps? Let's get that done. So first, Dwarven Wizard sounds great. Next, first level of Rogue. Perfect. Always take the first level of Rogue. The benefit of doing this is that you have the ability in future to you have the ability to get a whole bunch of extra skill points based off of your intelligence, which is cool. Now, one of the things that's important about Dwarven War Axe is Dwarven War Axe actually scales off of strike through if you have single weapon fighting and two-handed fighting. So you want to be able to strike through people. But you don't have to. You're playing as a wizard, so you actually don't really need to strike through, which is actually one of the things I was going to talk about. So, I mentioned this before. I'm playing as a single weapon fighter strike through character for my first run. That character is not actually, or not strike through, single weapon fighter melee Eldritch Knight. The reason why I'm not taking any strike through, and I don't think you should either, is because you have the option of just using magic. Magic makes up all of that. It's fantastic. So that's why you don't really need it. So that's why I'm not going to change that. Quick question. Does picking your first level class affect loot from chest and end of quest list, or is it based on your high priority of highest class level? Highest class level. So keep that in mind. Quicken, Empower, Extend. Empower is not as good as Maximize. So you want to take Maximize first, because it gives you more points. So it's a better thing. Extend's not bad. I'm assuming your character is not going to be playing as an undead, because you have a cleric with you, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Wizard 5. Extend is interesting. I don't know if you need Extend. You have Enlarge, Heighten, and everything else. You're mostly just trying to be a melee, which seems about right. Yeah. So, if you plan... I think Extend is actually perfectly fine. If you plan on playing as a undead, you'll want this. And even for, like, displacement and other things, it's just convenient. It's just convenient to have. Also, your character's likely not going to have spell-like abilities. So, that's actually true. You could take Extend early if you wanted, because your character's not likely to have spell-like abilities. And then you can use this on some of the early spells. At 6, you'll have access to Haste and Displacement. And that's a minute each instead of 30 seconds each, which is much more convenient. It gets 12 seconds per level. It's just nice to have. Improved critical slashing down here. Sounds good. Overwhelming critical. And then improved greater single weapon fighting. Greater single weapon fighting is better. You want greater single weapon fighting. That's an important detail. Also, toughness. Toughness is great. You know what else is really good? Oh, you can't take it here? Oh, you can't. And better than overwhelming critical is offhand versatility. Let's take offhand versatility, because that one's even better. I know I see it later down, but offhand versatility is even better. So you want to grab that sooner rather than later. Which is a fantastic, powerful ability. Then, you want to take overwhelming critical a little bit later. If you are going to take overwhelming critical. Epic Reflexes is probably fine, except you did take Insightful Reflexes. I don't know how much this is going to come up, and we'll have to see based on what you can actually physically put in your character build, but Perfect Single Weapon Fighting, Dire Charge, Sign of Arborea, all of that seems pretty straight up. That's almost an hour. That's true. Enhancement Tree. Enhance. Archmage 0. That's correct. This is the correct decision of how many points to spend in Archmage, by the way. Melee, why not go Artie? Because the benefit of the Eldritch Knight tree is that you're able to pick up way more physical damage. There's way more physical damage. That's why. Grabbing all of the defensive stuff, plus Arcane Barrier. You've got the improved shield and the mage armor. Mystic Wards is nice. Your character doesn't take Armored Arcana, which is probably, like, you want to use heaviest armor you possibly could with this character, but I'd usually recommend taking this. You've got Intelligence to damage as well as a Harper Agent, which is pretty good. Depending on what other trees you have access to and what you want to take, you have access to the rogue trees. Your sneak attack is not going to be too core important. Neither is the mechanic or the thief acrobat stuff, so you can probably skip most of this. You've also got Pale Master as an option. This is something you can go into if you want, but it's entirely up to you. And then finally, you have 12 points to spend in this tree. There's 5% hit points here, which is pretty nice. And you're already spending points in the dwarf tree, so picking up 5% hit points is something that is pretty substantial. The problem is it's 6 points for 5% hit points, whereas you could have just spent that in, like, the falconry tree if you had access to it. Although if you don't have access to falconry, that's 5% hit points, which is pretty good. No, there's no two-handed fighting in here. You have access to all of the trees. Because I was going to say, if you wanted, I know you have a lot of points in the dwarf tree here, and the extra axe damage, so you got, like, axes, axes, axes. And you get strike through, which I forgot, because it gives you free strike through here. Another important thing that I almost missed out on is one of these feats here. You've got perfect 2-weapon fighting. You could also take perfect 2-handed fighting to gain extra strike through chance if you wanted. Because this is 30% extra strike through. So that's also a perfectly fine option. But perfect 2-handed fighting is probably good enough. Strike through. Is this just, does this also give strike through? This is 10% strike through. It's not bad. It's pretty close. Saves against spell effects is nice. Iron Stomach is not that great. I'm going to say you could probably grab the hit points if you wanted, plus the extra axe training for the strike through. You don't want to use Like a Stone, because this is not good, and you don't want to use Dwarf Fortress, because you do not have a full-plated shield. Yep. And then at that point, you don't have that many points left to spend, so you're pretty much just going in on intelligence. You're also a rogue, so you need to make sure you have enough skill points to do everything you want to do. The character picks up no skill points towards rogue stuff, and you're often going to be running behind on this character. So you're probably going to need to take Harper Agent highly skilled in a lot of cases just to be able to get through. I love the idea of this extra intelligence, so maybe even just taking 2 points, but you need skills from somewhere. And that's going to come out probably more often than you would like, unfortunately. Getting the extra awareness from mechanic or the mechanics here and taking this early is probably going to be a useful idea. But it also depends on the levels that you play. If you're planning on going for the 5k, okay, and or like, yeah, the 5k like leveling path or whatever, then what you can do is you can grab for yourself, instead of using or like for the 5k favor, instead of doing quests 2 levels over or the level of or whatever, you're doing them 4 levels over, so your skills should usually, even without the best gear for search and disable, be able to catch most things. The problem that you're going to be running into is spot. You will find traps after you run into them. This character has no spot, no way to spot, and you will not find things ahead of time. One of the things a lot of people like about the Inquisitive tree, when I turn it on, is that Inquisitive gives you the ability to automatically search for stuff. And that's really cool. It means that you don't need to know where the traps are to be able to find them ahead of time. However, if you wanted to take this, you would have to take essentially all the points out of your dwarf tree and put this into Inquisitive here, and it'll automatically spot stuff for you. Putting points in the Inquisitive tree is not even that bad anyway, because you get Eye for Accuracy and Wand and Scroll Mastery, which could come in handy in other places. But it's also not the best. So just keep that in mind. In fact, yeah, a lot of the stuff is not that good. So again, that's something to consider. It all depends on whether you are worried about that. Now, granted, your character is going to be quite tanky. If you walk ahead, you will be able to kind of find the traps as you go along. But as I said, the hardest thing is going to be spot. Getting your spot up is going to be very challenging with this character to see traps ahead of time. How do you get spot up? You maximize your spot. In fact, I don't even know if you can maximize your spot. Because even if I just go to the general leveling path with the skills dialogue, yeah, your spot's not going to be high enough just because you don't get it as a wizard, and it costs you too many points in other places to get. Yeah, so your character's not going to be able to spot stuff, so the Inquisitive is just a completely non-option. So instead, something more like this. I just like the extra hit points here, and the extra strike through is nice for your axe training. You also don't want to take any of the dragon mark for this because that's not very helpful. And this iron stomach potion effect is kind of interesting, but it's not really that important. Although getting removed disease and poison on every potion is cool. Not important, but cool. And you're going to have a lot of extra tankiness. As far as epic destinies, you need to be really flexible. Are you going all the way to cap, or are you not going up to cap? Are you going to try? Also, nice transformation. Know the angles. Epic defensive fighting. Bend, quicken. All right. Sounds good. Okay. So, what are you going to use? You're not going to have access to every epic destiny. I'm just clicking this for convenience sake, but you're not going to have access to every epic destiny. You're going to start in Arcane. And what epic destiny are you going to go into? Shadow Dancer. You might think that you want to be in Fatesinger, and that's kind of true. You kind of do want to be in Fatesinger, but Shadow Dancer is going to be really nice. It's going to give you a lot of extra damage, most importantly. It also gives you easy access to a lot of good defensive abilities. Shadow Form allowing you to be incorporeal without actually worrying about being undead. This big cooldown from Dark Imbuement as well, and it gives you access to Meld into Darkness and Grim Precision for the Fortification Penetration and the Dodge Chance, both things you don't get a lot of as a general as a dwarf, which is pretty convenient and cool. Now granted, you still could use Fatesinger, but it's better for you to be in Shadow Dancer. Also, by leveling through Shadow Dancer, it means that during the leveling process, while you're going up to cap, you can go to, or you can start in Magister, then go into Draconic and cap out Draconic, then go into Fatesinger, cap out Fatesinger, then go into Shadow Dancer and cap out Shadow Dancer. With those different trees all at max, I think that gives you, what, 4 points? So out of the 20, it gives you like 8, so you have like 13 fate points or something like that, which is enough for you to be able to twist Marshal him. You can just still get the Marshal him, which is really, really potent. And then you get one more twist. You get a tier 4 and tier 1 if you want. And so you can still grab out of Fatesinger without having to level up anything else. You can grab Marshal him out of here, which is a really good defensive, offensive ability. So you always want to have Marshal him whenever possible. And then it means you can twist out the tier 1 from pretty much anywhere else. And an easy tier 1 that you would possibly want to twist would be like Dragonhide. You get no fail on a fortitude save, which is going to be essential. Your character will have high fortitude saves because you're a dwarf, but still, that's like a nice thing to have for Hardcore League. Then you want to be able to search, spot, disable. That's all very good. You also want stealthy because that's nice. Grab some more intelligence here. Meld into Darkness for defense, Grim Precision for defense, grab some more intelligence, grab this Assassinate from Execution or Strike. You don't want to be negative leveled, so get immune to that, and get the extra crit multi, get the dodge, shadow form, and then at this point you have to ask yourself, do I want more intelligence, probably, or do I want extra reflex saves? Reflex saves are really nice, and the armor class is really nice, so I'm going to say probably reflex saves. And that's 2 points for 4 reflex saves, which is a lot, which will help you out, considering you have epic reflex saves. And then as far as equipment, you need to be as bare bones as possible. No raid gear, no special items. You don't want to guarantee anything crazy. You want to work on something that's pretty straightforward that will get you where you need to go. Also, usually tankier is better than, being more defensive is better than being more offensive, and finding things that are easy to farm is better than things that are hard to farm. However, there are some obvious winners in this pile here. Does Call of Destiny exist on Hardcore? Yes, it does. But yeah, so in here, the general set is, I think that almost everybody is going to be farming out for a winter set, and I think your character is no exception, because winter set is really good. If you're playing with your friend who also happens to be a cleric, you do want to be able to protect them, and they're going to grab aggro a lot, so the Nocturne Ring is going to make waves here and help you out quite a bit. On top of that, if you're not playing as an undead, the Winter Cloak is really nice and very easy to come by. And then finally, the Dire Bear Belt is great. So that's also a good item. Alternatively, instead of going with the Nocturne Ring, you could just go with the Dire Bear Belt for the extra tankiness. Dire Bear Belt. Dire Bear Belt. Belt of the Dire Bear. There it is. You get the winter set here, you can grab these. Or alternatively, you can just go with the extra bracers for the extra defense. The problem is, what armor set do you want to use? And you have a lot of different options here. The one that I think would probably fit best for your character, because you are playing as an Eldritch Knight, you do want some of those intelligence, you do want the medium armor if possible. Oddly enough, one of the ones that actually works really well with this character is medium. There's the Blackmail, which is convenient because it gives you the Dreadkeeper set if you wanted to go for the Dreadkeeper. Not particularly useful for your character, but it does gives you intelligence and other stats, which is kind of convenient. However, if you want to go for all of the damage, you do, of course, want to use the Enforcer's Coat from Sharn. I'm always nervous about Sharn. Oh, you want evasion. Right, I forgot about evasion. Crap, did I screw up the skill tree? Yeah, I did. Of course I screwed it up. It means you get 2 extra points. Evasion, of course. This is going to be screwy. Yeah, picking more defense. Be tankier. Because if you're wearing light armor, that's going to be sketch. So light armor limits you on what you can wear. And you're going to have a lot of limitations. I would say, if I had to pick something that would work well for your character, you could, if you wanted to, go for the autumn set of gear. The benefit of the autumn set of gear is it gives you some defense, or sorry, some extra spell powers and stuff, but again, you're going to run into the problem where you don't do enough damage. Damn it, there's really no real good answer here other than using, like, the Sharn set. I really hate just shoving the Sharn set into everything, but it's really easy to come by. It helps you out a lot. Also, one of the issues is having to craft stuff. You know what? This is probably what I would say, is the Strap of Autumn Leaves. It's a very common belt. It drops from... so the Feywild artifacts are going to be the artifacts of choice, so you're going to want to pick a Feywild artifact for everything, and so you want that. No, I think it's probably better to go with Evasion, but you want a Feywild artifact all the time. You always want to use a Feywild artifact on Hardcore League now, because Feywild artifacts are very, very easy to farm. They just drop from any chest. There's not a Fey Twisted item, so it's very easy to come by. And this gives magical sheltering, magical natural armor bonus, and magical efficiency, which is pretty nice. Plus, it grants you intelligence. Getting other stats set up is difficult, and so you want things that makes it as easy as possible to get all the stats that you need. So, for example, the Acolyte lenses granting insightful wizardry is also very convenient. It's a commonly run quest. I'm trying to think of what other items grant, like, intelligence that you could possibly easily come by. You want to do as little crafting as possible. Every time you craft a Slave Lords item, that's like 4 runs of Slave Lords on hard. And on hardcore, that just gets tiring after a while. Because you're like, I just want to go and like level up and do quests and stuff. And then you also get kind of lost in like some area where you have like a bunch of stats that you want that are cool, but they don't always match up to what the best stats are that you could even use on your character. So in here, you want the Autumn Crown of Leaves. Wait, the Crown of Leaves is a... This is not a Fate Twisted item, so I don't know why it has the Fate Twisted border here, but this is not a Fate Twisted item. This just comes from a single place. Give you some extra stats, gives you your accuracy, your profane well-rounded, you've got some of your defensive stats, and now you just need to get some constitution. An item that is great for this character is an orb. You always want to use an orb, and the Heart of Prince fits in really, really well with the lifeblood of the undead prince just kind of coming in clutch and doing all the stats that you want. So I would grab this, because you're an orb-based build. As a weapon, you want any weapon. And what is the best Dwarven War Axe that you can get for this character? Because you're using a Dwarf Axe. Obsidian Reaver is great, but we're not doing that raid on hardcore. No, no, no. Hoarfrost is great, but we're not doing Too Hot to Handle. No, no, no. So you're going to pick either Stormreach Guardian's Axe, which is pretty good because it gives armor piercing, which is convenient, or you want to go with the Morning Lord's Axe. Both of these are fine. But probably the Dwarven Axe. You have Constitution, you have Intelligence, you need Insightful Intelligence, Quality Intelligence, and whatever defensive stats you can try to muster. And offensive stats you can try to muster, because you have Accuracy and you don't have Insightful Act. I don't know why, but I really want to use an Autumn set. Let's check it out. Stormreach Guardian's Axe gives armor piercing. This gives this, so that means this item is useless. You grab the Leaf Mail, which gives you this, so your 3-piece Autumn set. And the Winter. And then you can grab the Dead Ringers, which gives you the Wizardry and other stats. It's also easy to come by. Why do you have too many Winter items? 1, 2, 3, 4? Oh, shit. And you change your Autumn Ring to the Fall Decay, and you use the Acid Spell Power Imbue. And... if only this item was slightly better, there is the, Autumn. There's the Amber Pendant and the Celestial Insignia. The Amber Pendant is actually really good here because it gives you Insightful Sheltering, stats you don't have, and the Celestial Insignia, which is really cool because it gives you Healing Amp and Angelic Grace. But yeah, it's better to go with the Amber Pendant. And I feel like there's an amp. Healing. Ironclad Armbands, Hallowed Castigators, Cold Iron Bracers, Adamantine Bracers, Mysterious Bracers. You can't even get these. Levix Bracers. I swear to God, there's another Healing Amplification item. Is it Cloak? Healing Amp? No, that's negative. What else gives Healing Amp in this game? Is it just armor? Icon of the Bitter Wind. That's also a raid item. Curse Keeper is a raid item. Memoriam, raid item. Blood Rage Chrism, raid item. So there are Healing Amp items, but they're all raid items. Dude, that just sucks. Oh, the Orb of the Heart of the Prince gives you the amp you want. Duh. You don't even need that. Perfect. And then you grab yourself, you've already got the Accuracy and Deadly here. Then you just gotta grab yourself Accuracy. I don't think you need any of this stuff. Plus your Ruby Ring is not too bad. And Band of Insightful Commands is not too bad, but it's insanely hard to farm out. You also grab Stunning from the Corroded Iron Figurine if you want this item here. I think there's also a Stunning item here. Stun. Sunken Chain. Is that hard to come by? Stunning, Shatter, and Insightful Seeker. You don't need those stats, but it does let you craft Quality Intelligence onto it. Be very convenient on an item like this. And then you grab the... Is that Quality on it? Sweet. And you grab a ring. This is the absolute top pinnacle of all of the gear. Grab the Dustbone Ring, which gives you Ghostly. So now you have Ghostly and Displacement, Profane Life Force, Vertigo, Hardened Exterior. You've got the Spell Focus, Insightful Spell Focus, Mastery, Insightful Sheltering, Magical Sheltering, Physical Sheltering, Cloak of Winter, 7-piece Autumn set. You don't need a 7-piece Autumn set. You could probably entirely skip that. Wait, there's a Find Gear option? I did not know that. I'm trying to think. You're just missing middle of the inventory screen? Really? On the body? I'm doing this again. I'm blind now. Oh no. Center of the paper doll. Find gear. It's right there. It's just before my eyes. Oh my god. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Yep, hiding in plain sight is one of those concepts that I've always found so interesting. Because just in general, you imagine like you see stuff. Like I see stuff, you see stuff. We all see things when we walk around. How many times are things just like invisible to you because they're hiding in plain sight like that? Repulsor boots? No, that can't be good. It's also a raid item. So wait, so if I need to find something that does like amplification, I just type in amplification and then everything comes up. Like the Rune Lodestone, which does not have amplification on it. It's just a winter set item. And the problem is, whenever I look at these items, I already know what I'm looking at. That's not helpful. Stunning. There's the Perfect Pinnacle, which is possibly a usable item, because it gives stunning, but that's pretty much it, which makes me sad. Lionheart Ring, which gives action boost, insightful, armor piercing, constitution, and stunning. Ooh, okay, good. Big one. And then you just need insightful intelligence and whatever. So insightful intelligence, you can get a collective sight, or just grab the Acolyte's lenses, which is good enough. Plus it gives you extra mana, which is convenient. And then for your trinket, you can literally use whatever you want. All these things don't matter. Battle-worn metal? Who cares? Bone figurine? Who cares? All of this stuff doesn't matter. Actually, bone figurine gives you double strike, insightful double strike, which is not too bad. You've got 6-piece Autumn for all the extra DCs, bonuses to your skill points, that sort of thing. Or Intelligence, you got the Winter set, you got this bit of Summer. I think your saves are... They wish they could be higher. It's that Reflex, man. It's hard to come by. That Reflex is hard to come by. Will you survive with this? Oh, yeah. You got like 1,700 life. Could use maybe some more physical magical resistance rating, but you're wearing light armor, so that's limited what you can do. Oh, yeah. Also, let's turn on buffs that I equipped. Martial Hymn, you got the Shadow Training. You always have maximum of these two things because you just turn on your aura, so it's always up. And you have 2 cooldowns. You have Meld into Darkness plus other stuff. You should be fine. You just need... The only thing I'm worried about is this reflex save. And I don't know how you get more reflex saves. How do we get more reflex saves into this build? Aha! Reflex saves? Storm in a bottle? Yes, reflex save. Legendary Lotus Mail. Could work, but you don't want that. No, you have insightful reflexes. You don't need that. Wall Watch Circlet, Tinkerer's Gloves, Ring of Nightfall for insightful intelligence and reflex saves. And insightful deadly. You don't need insightful deadly, so that's a waste of time. Robe of the Pendant of the Apparition is healing amp, but you don't need it in quality reflex saves, so that's got to be bad. Dragon Eyes is insightful reflex saves, which you already have. Lightfoot Greaves, which you're not replacing. That's no. Yeah, you're not getting more reflex saves in this build. Yeah, parrying? Yeah. This build is about consistently dealing damage. Yeah, the problem is you don't get a lot of reflex saves as a wizard. Like, even with a 73 intelligence, it's still just not quite there. Granted, that's not including an augment. If you wanted to, you can buy one out of the store and buy yourself an augment. You can buy 2 augments. You can buy a good luck augment for +2 to all saves. And then you can also buy out of the store, similarly, a Sapphire Resistance for +11 to all saves. Both those things come out of the store, bringing you up to 77 reflex save. 80 is about where you need to be. What about the shitty will save? No, if you're doing favor, go get a Harper Pin. Just get a Harper Pin. Harper Pin saves your life. As long as you have a Harper Pin, you'll never worry about it. That's what Harper Pins are for. Also, I didn't apply spells. What spells do you cast in here? Lure. Displacement. That's important. Your character has greater heroism. Haste, because you always cast that. Jump. You're not casting Good Hope or Freedom of Movement, although you have that effect on your character, so you don't worry about that. You are casting Rage. You are casting Shield. I didn't cast Night Shield, but you're casting Night Shield. You are casting Prayer, no. Spell Resistance, no. Stone Skin, no. Tensors. Tensors? Possibly. You don't really need to cast Tensors, though, so I wouldn't do that. You could get an alchemical bonus to Constitution and alchemical bonus to Armor class by doing this, but you reduce all your spell DCs and double the cooldown of all your spells, which I don't love. Mage Rights. Why wouldn't you cast Stone Skin? Well, you would cast Stone Skin. It's just I don't need to click it on for the stats. That's right. I misspoke, because you don't need to click it on to look at the stats. And then as far as filigrees go, you always go for 5. Because easily filling up your artifact is happening, and getting 2 slots in your weapon is very easy. So for 5 filigrees. And on this character, for 5 filigrees, you probably just want to go with anything that gives you melee power for extra damage. Pretty much all you need. There's nothing like really crazy here. That or something that gives you extra scaling damage with some of your other stuff. But you do a bunch of sneak attacks and other things on here, so you'd probably just go with whatever that gives you melee power. You don't have any action boosts, so prowess is not really that great, even though it's like the ideal filigree. If you play enough Sharn, you're able to pick up the filigree that would be best for this character, which would be Shattered Device. But you need to play enough Sharn to get Shattered Device, or be able to trade with other players who have Shattered Device. Basically, you should be in tune with other people that are playing the game. And as long as you're in tune with other people that are playing, you should be able to get yourself a 5-piece shattered device. You should be good. Does Necrocleric Palemaster build sound crazy? No, Werner. I literally built one on the YouTube channel and on the build in the build repository. If you want to find one, it's right here. My chat doesn't work. All right. This is probably what I would change. Again, you've got one item in here that's Fate Twisted, which is the Heart of the Prince. If you're farming for all this other stuff, or 2 items. No, 1 item. This is a bug. This is a visual bug. It's a really good artifact, though. You really, or not artifact, item. You really want this. It's not worth it, just skip. Go get a Heart of the Prince. You can farm Fate Twisted chests in the Explorer area. There's guides on how to do it. It does not take that long to get Fate Twisted items. Especially with a group.